Hey, it's Christopher with another episode of What's Brewing, and today we're talking about the 10 things I think you should know about Apple Business Essentials, Part 2. Let's roll that beautiful B-roll. So in my last video, I talked about the historical context and 5 of the things that I thought were really important. Just as a reminder, Apple Business Essentials is really the culmination of years and years of Apple working to help IT administrators manage their devices, deploy apps, deploy settings, and get folks enrolled. They've been trying to make that experience easier and easier and easier, and as I see it, Apple Business Essentials is an attempt to meet that small business market need for all-in-one coverage of device from hardware to management, security, and for backup. This is really compelling to me because it's the first time we've seen a provider try to do all of this in one. Naturally, I think a lot of providers are moving that direction, but it's exciting to see Apple fill the need in a space where it's obvious that they feel like this is something our customers need, and that could be a compelling offering. So let's dive in. Number 6. As I mentioned previously, managed Apple IDs are becoming a centerpiece. Previously in Apple School Manager, we had things like classes, and this organized students and teachers into groupings. Now, with Apple Business Essentials, groups are getting introduced into the interface here. So what that allows you to do is, instead of scoping or having a user get settings individually, you're able to be able to apply those settings to a group of users, and you can organize them in one of 2 ways. Either individually assigning users to a group, or using dynamic information in Apple Business Essentials to make what's called a smart group. Now, right now, it seems like the criteria is pretty limited to locations, but I'm sure that's going to grow over time. Let's talk about number 7, settings. So I'm going to put these on the screen here. Here are the settings at the launch of this product: AirDrop, AirPrint, Application Layer Firewall, Password and Screen Lock, Certificates, Conference Room Display, Energy Saver, Gatekeeper, iCloud, Login Window, VPN, and Wi-Fi. Now, these are the list of settings that Apple Business Essentials allows you to manage. This is not a representation of what the Apple MDM framework can do, but this is a condensed version that Apple believes is essential for small business customers to get off the ground and manage those devices, or at least to manage settings on those devices. It's important to note that I did not see any ability to upload a custom payload, so you can't go to another tool to build a profile or settings and then upload it to Apple Business Essentials. If that's something that you feel like is needed in this product, I would definitely leave feedback with Apple at this link here, so that way you can express those feelings or those desires to improve the product. Number 8, apps. App deployment is really where over-the-air management started when it comes to deploying content. We used it with Apple Configurator, with redemption codes, and then eventually Apple IDs, and then device-based app assignment where no Apple IDs were needed. And again, previously you needed some kind of an MDM tool to be able to deploy those apps. Now with Apple Business Essentials, you can acquire or purchase those apps. Many of them are free, which is why I use the word acquire, and then directly deploy those apps with Apple Business Essentials. Now, a couple things to note here. Whenever you're deploying these settings, you have to do them through collections, which I'll talk about in a second. But it's very easy to be able to assign those collections, including apps, to a user or a group. The one thing I will mention when you are doing this, previously you would get a location-based token, you would buy all your apps, and you would associate that token with an MDM, and it really didn't matter what the users looked like on that MDM. You just bought those licenses, they were stored, and they would sync between Apple and the MDM, so the MDM knew if it had enough license to deploy to the device. Now you'll notice that in this iteration, you have to make sure that any apps you purchase are associated to the location that the user's associated with. That's an important distinguishment. So I noticed when deploying apps that when I logged in with my unmanaged Apple ID, I only saw a couple apps there, which was curious because I've probably got thousands, if not tens of thousands of app licenses. The thing of it is, I have about 15 or 20 locations. But my managed Apple ID, my user here, is not associated with all of those locations. So I only saw the licenses purchased to the location I was in. So I went ahead and tested my theory here and went and bought some more licenses to the location that I was associated with and noticed that more apps poured in. So that's an important thing to note when you are using or testing Apple Business Essentials. Make sure you buy the licenses to the location of the user or associate that user with multiple locations. Let's talk about number 9, collections. This is where we put it all together. With a collection, you're able to add things like apps and settings and then scope them to a user or a user group. Now, I haven't done full testing yet, so I did notice that in the collections tab, you've got the ability to add apps, settings, scope a user group, scope a user, and there's a placeholder for device. I'm assuming that that is for automated enrollment devices that are enrolled via that setup assistant when it activates and then prompts it to enroll. Now, I haven't confirmed this, so I'll definitely share more information once I've gone through that process, but there was a device tab, it was grayed out. I need to do a little bit more testing and then I'll let you know. Ultimately, the idea of collections is similar to what we've talked about with Apple Configurator. Apple Configurator was able to do the same thing. In Apple Configurator, they called it blueprints. Collections are really just the same idea. I can deploy apps, I can deploy the settings to groups of devices. Very similar to a blueprint. Now, I like the word collections because it is a collection point of putting all of these things together so that way you can deploy it. And I find that it was very easy to use, it was very interactive, and it was very fast. Number 10. AppleCare Plus. So for many customers, being down can be a difficult scenario. The idea behind AppleCare Plus is that you've got phone support that's 24/7. They've got some caveats on that. So again, visit this link here to check out all the details about AppleCare Plus with Apple Business Essentials. Additional to that, on-site repair is an option with AppleCare Plus within 4 hours. Again, there are caveats to that, but the fact that Apple is providing over the phone support and on-site support for hardware is really compelling. Not that just you're doing it, but doing it within a time frame that is really going to allow businesses to reduce the amount of time they're down and make sure that their folks are staying productive. And again, this complements all the things that Apple Business Essentials is meant to do. Let's paint a scenario here for ourselves. Let's pretend that I've accidentally dropped my laptop. The good news is that it's enrolled in Apple Business Essentials. I've got some restrictions on it to enable things that make it secure. I've got all my data in iCloud, so I'm not worried about losing any content. And I've got AppleCare Plus, where now I can call Apple, see if whether or not this can be repaired by myself or brought to a service provider. And if it is an urgent need, I can then request that an on-site repair be driven here and done on site, so that way, whether it be replacing a unit or fixing the existing unit for me, I'm able to get back up and running. Let's pretend that my device is not fixable in that scenario and I have a replacement device. However it's being provided, whether by Apple or by my organization. Now all I have to do is power the laptop on, go through the setup assistant, choose a few options, get prompted to enroll, be able to sign in with my managed Apple ID, get all of my data back, of course also be enrolled and have all the settings and all things configured just the way they were before, and boom, I'm up and running within about 15-20 minutes tops. Now, that's compelling because as a business owner, my goal is to keep my folks as productive as humanly possible, and any tool that will help me do that is exciting. That is the goal from my impression of Apple Business Essentials. Does Apple Business Essentials compete in the market? Well, I'm sure at a certain point it does, but to me it complements. It's trying to meet a need that no one's really doing, and it's not doing it on one side or the other. It's really trying to add a bunch of different services into one, or add on a bunch of services into an existing one, upgrade it, right, iterate it, right, next step it, whatever you want to call it, and then say, if you're a business owner, here's a subscription, pick the one that makes sense for you depending on your needs, and now you're doing it all in one portal. Is it going to compete for larger organizations? Not necessarily, because I think it's aimed at small business. So there's a very specific target customer here. Should anyone try it? Absolutely. I think you should always kick the tires and be familiar with new services. I think that's smart. I think that's interesting. And I think it helps you to have perspective to see if your existing solution makes sense. And if you don't have an existing solution, this is definitely one that I would consider, as I believe every customer should be under management for so many reasons: for security, for data retention, right? You know, just for ease of use, so that your employees aren't in a wild west of device usage, right? That things are consistently managed and it's easy for them to get up and running. So overall, I'm very impressed with Apple Business Essentials. It's everything that I think we love and know about Apple Business Manager, but with some really compelling add-ons. That's the best way to describe it for me. So I hope you liked this video. I hope it was informative. If you didn't watch our first video, go rewatch that real quick. And if you like what we're producing, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps out our channel to keep doing these kind of videos and share them with the world. As always, we hope that you're doing well, we hope that you're staying safe, and we can't wait to see you in the next one.